What's up, YouTube? Qmoto here. I'm about to take the 2020 ZX10 to get my chain and sprocket switched out. Going over to the 520 conversion. Pretty much any work I can't do myself, I take over to a buddy's house of mine. Cat named Sir Walt Freeman. He does all my extra work that I can't tackle myself. He's pretty much a bike rider slash engineer slash motorcycle mechanic. So anything I can't tackle, he can knock out for me and get it done ASAP. So I'm about to ride over there and get him to knock that out for me, and I'll show you the results afterwards. All right, later. My first time riding a bike since last season. Well, not first time riding it, but the first time really going anywhere other than my neighborhood. Another gold EKMVXZ chain on my bike. I like the gold and black combo. I've tried many different colors over the years, but I've come to like the gold and black look on my bike. So that's typically what I ride, with a gold and black chain and sprocket combo, and I just like that look. That's another reason I got the gold grips and gold levers on my bike, kind of match with that. And this bike also has some gold in the lettering, which goes along with that as well. So that's the route I'm going as far as the chain and sprocket combo. But I typically like the gold and black combo. I go with that a lot nowadays. I got the driven sprockets. I do a driven lightweight steel rear. I had tried doing aluminum, I think it was, back in the day, but man, those things wear down so quick. They're lightweight, but they wear down super quick, man. And I was riding one day and that sucker was almost round. It didn't have any teeth left. So after that, I stopped going to aluminum and I kept going with steel because steel lasts longer. You can get a lightweight steel and you'll get more mileage out of it than you will with an aluminum. So if you ride a lot, like myself, that's the route you likely want to go. I think it is. Yeah, I think it is 525.
Going from the stock 525 sprocket to a 520 sprocket, which in the bike world, a lot of people like to do that conversion for less rotating mass. It's something that a lot of track bikes use because, you know, what you want to do is lower the amount of rotating mass, weight reduction. You know, everybody's chasing that the lightest, the quickest, the fastest will get you going. So what we're going to do today, we're going to swap out the back sprocket. We're going to also swap out the front sprocket. All right, we've got our axle nut loose, but before we actually can tap the axle out and remove the tire, we have to take what they call the ABS sensor out. If we don't, we can run the risk of damaging it because it's a very, very sensitive piece of equipment or sensor in there. So we have to remove that first. Then we can tap out the axle here and get the wheel off. Okay, now the reason for removing this, what you don't want to do is to damage the very end of your ABS sensor. What it actually reads is the slots in this inside rotor here. And once, if you accidentally, while it's in there, removing the wheel, you can scrape and damage the end of it, and then you wouldn't get an accurate reading, and it'll probably throw you an engine code. Gotcha. So that's why we remove the ABS sensor. Gotcha.
So it was a 14?
Yep. 14 millimeter.
Too easy.
This is one of the at-home deals you can do yourself, but if you don't know the particulars like the ABS deal, it can make the job a degree of difficult. But for overall, this can be done in your garage on a weekend in about an hour.
See, my issue is that front sprocket, getting that off, and pretty much breaking the chain. I ain't got the tools for that, so
yeah,
I'm not gonna buy them.
Some people like to use the standard chain breakers that you get from the average part. All right, this is the standard chain breaker kit that you can buy at any motorcycle parts store. I like using it to put my chains back on, but for removing them, I simply just take any good air-driven cut-off wheel. Makes getting them off really simple. You just, you know, grind the rivets off. One quick hit of the screwdriver and it's out of there. So now we're going back with a simple install here. I see that he used a somewhat of a universal sprocket. It has two different bolt patterns on it, so I assume that it can be used for a couple different models. This is a this is steel.
Yeah, driven steel.
Yep, driven steel, which is a high quality. When you're thinking about rear sprockets, aluminum are good for short-term situations, but if you're an avid or regular rider, you'll find that steel sprockets do last a whole lot longer, especially when you're getting into situations which you're racing any high RPM wheelies. you'll get the best longevity out of a steel sprocket versus aluminum. Aluminums look good, they're a lot cheaper than a steel sprocket, but the performance isn't there like a steel sprocket. Reinstall. And here's where you ran into a small degree of difficulty before, because you left that ABS sensor in, which makes it a tad bit more difficult to put the wheel back on. There's two things I like to do before putting the wheel on that help out with the wheel install. One of them is removing the ABS sensor, and the next one, which is a real help, is you want to always spread your brake caliper pads back out. That'll give you always a little wiggle room so when you have to finesse the wheel back into position. But while you're doing this, what you really don't want to do is scar up your brake pads. So it does take just a small degree of finesse just to get it right. All right, so what we'll do now, we'll reinstall the actual nut, but we'll leave it loose, because what we're gonna have to do is adjust the chain according to how many links it are. Once we cut it, we have to set a good tension point on it. So, what we're gonna do right now, we're gonna move forward to the front sprocket so we can get that replaced before we get into actually installing the chain. The front sprocket has a nut on it with what they call a lock washer. This keeps your nut itself from spinning off. If you can see your factory marks where they originally torqued the axle bolt on, the axle nut, and then they use the lock washer, flatten down one side of it so it can't back out on its own. So if you see how it's flattening out, you can see it. All right. So as you can see, we've pushed your lock ring back so we can have full access to the nut. So now all we have to do is break the nut and remove the front sprocket. So the front nut on the ZX10 is going to be a 27 millimeter socket. That's going to be what we're going to use. And it's off. And here's your lock washer. This is a closer view of it. Now what you'll do is actually bend down just one tab so it won't remove. You always want, your front sprocket is what holds the most torque when the motor hits. So you want to make sure you got a really good front sprocket. Now let's see here, we're going on here. There. We're going to reinstall our lock ring. There we go. And we're going to reinstall our nut. Right. And now we're going to relock it so we can ensure that it doesn't, work its way back off again. Alright, now you can see where I've already pressed the lock washer down so it won't be able to back out. So we can feel pretty safe and secure about that front sprocket being locked on. That completes your install of your front sprocket. What we'll do now, put it in neutral, and we're going to head into some chain install. Now when you're thinking about a chain, the chain is one of the most vital parts of your motorcycle. And having a great chain can be the difference between tearing up your engine casing, causing yourself thousands of dollars of spent funds, either repairing the motor casing or replacing the engine, when you can spend just a couple of extra dollars on your chain to get a high quality chain that will last a long time, be able to hold up to high horsepower, hold up to abuse from the rider, because you have some riders, hey, they nail it from home, and your chain, it has to be able to stand up to the type of rider you are. I've seen many customers come in with, I'm not here to bash any other chain makers, but some of the lower grade chains, and you know, then they have to come back because they snapped the chain and tore up the engine casing, or snapped the chain and tore up the fairings, or just snapped the chain itself. But you get what you pay for. What we're gonna do now, let's start right here. So what we have to do at this point, we're gonna remove these additional links here. There are two ways to do it. You can go back with the old box of, there's our old little box. We can go with our little box of chain breaker, and it'll probably be a little bit more hassle to try to get those brand new rivets out. Or we can simply, if you wanna pass me the air hose, we can use our handy dandy cut off wheel by Coke. And we are 1, 2, 3, yeah. Little hammer there, you know, hammer it out, and a few moments later, wow, you're in and out of there. You know, using those chain breakers and that, you know, they're good. You can use them, but hey, this is way much. So what you want to do here is you want to get your face locked up, cap link. On there. Now, on your chain tool, you have two parts of a chain tool. You have the lock back, and then you have the front that has the holes for your rivets to come through. That's everything installed here, and we'll know in just a minute, depending on how the rivets come out. And if you get a little closer in here, you can see where your rivets have come out past, and your actual front master link plate is lined up exactly with the plates around it. You don't want to over tighten it because it'll add a kink in your chain. You know, so you want to do it just so. Come to this end. If you look at the master links themselves, you can see how they're lined up there. And there's no gap. They're evenly spaced, so you can see where my thumb at. One's not pushed in further than the other. So what we're going to do now is what we call spreading your master link, the rivet links. And what you have to do is mushroom each stud that comes out for the master link. We're going to mushroom the head so the front plate of your master link can't come off. So what we do, you have this particular tool. This end is actually behind the master link because it holds the rivet in. This end has, if you see, it has the kind of conical edge on it. It goes into the rivet, spreads it open or mushrooms it open, so the cap of the master link can't come back off. And it doesn't take a whole lot to make it happen here. Let's go here. Couple good turns. You kind of feel it spreading. Yes, you can overdo this and actually snap your rivet open. And yes, you can underdo it and it still will be able to work its way off. So this is one of those detailed things where you want to try to get it just right. Unfortunately, with chains and chain installs, we don't really have a margin of error. So let's get a close up so you can see the difference between one. This one has been mushroomed. If you can see, it's kind of spaced out there versus this one that hasn't been mushroomed open. You can see the inner part of the rivet is kind of widened out. That's going to prevent this link from coming off there. This one, you know, is still stock, unpressed, so you can see there's a big difference between this one and this one. All right, now as we screw in, we're going to see the chain moving a little bit here. And what you want to do, you want to tighten your chain up where you only have about an inch of play going up and down in your chain. If you have more than an inch of play, such as this, it's time to get your chain tightened. If you got less than an inch of play, your chain is going to be too tight, which causes, you know, friction, which causes drag, which for performance guys slows you down. So we're going to tighten up this side just a tad bit here, so we get her kind of close to where we want to be at, and then we're going to adjust the other side a little bit.
But I've also noticed when after tightening both sides, you might want to go back and check, because once you tighten the other side, right, the slack kind of tightens up a little bit on the first side. Yeah.
See, we got. That's why it was a little slacker on. Had a little bit more slack on it before I went to the other side, but you can see when we tightened up the other side a little bit, it took a lot of slack out. So that's why I like to go back and forth, you know, a little bit at a time. I don't like to tighten one side up all together, because once you tighten up the other side, you'll be too tight.
Right.
Your chain, you can see we're at less than an inch of play, so we still got good room here. So within probably, knowing you, sir, within the next, I would say week or days, it depends on if you take a long ride. Within the next couple of days, you're definitely going to want to come back and tighten your chain up, or revisit me, and we'll tighten it up.
I can do a chain adjustment.
You can handle that.
That's why I got those.
All right.
All right, just got finished getting my sprocket and chain put on. Give you a good look at it when I get to the house so you can see it. Now you won't notice a difference in your speed or nothing like that from just changing out the chain and sprocket, but it probably will give you a little bit, maybe 1 or so horsepower, maybe. I haven't really tested it out, but you ain't gonna notice a difference. I like it because of the looks, and I know it's giving me less rotating mass, but mostly for the looks, man. I just like the look of that black and gold chain setup. But you're not gonna really feel a difference as far as riding in your butt dyno. You ain't gonna really feel a difference in that.
This is the end result. This is the look I was going for, with the black and gold look. You see the gold in the lettering there, gold levers, gold grips. faster.